go with. Oh. We are back. Nobody's watching yet. I wonder if it's a pre-Father's Day. Everybody's out,
Yep.
Becoming new fathers.
There we go. We got one looking now. Say hey, first in.
Chris. What's going on, Charles?
A Canadian. Imagine that.
Fellow Canadian.
There you go.
Coming in to support Rob. That's nice.
There we go.
Nice.
Hey, so we're going to wrap up all the wonderful things we did.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
Your mic's really quiet.
Oh, sorry. The better. Wait, make sure I got the right mics.
There's Charles.
Yep, Charles is on. Sorry, Charles. Chris beat you from Canada.
It's because it's only like 8 o'clock where Chris is at. It's still 6 where Charles is at. He's kind of time traveling.
There we go. Is that better?
Yes, that's way better.
I had it on my table.
All right, take two. Take two.
Take two. All right. We're going to wrap up all the wonderful things we've done to recreate the D-Day invasion with our own little strategies. So from 5th of June or 6th of June, whatever you want to call it, all the way up to the 15th of June. Why the 15th of June? Because Day of Days only runs to the 15th of June. All right. And I guess with the expectation that we would make the same progress or better progress or possibly even worse progress than the Allies actually made. And I think, and we're going to get there, but I think our results probably slightly different, but I think put it this way, they could have left a lot of the Allies generals at home and called on all of us to go do it. Gober probably would have started, as somebody commented, Gober probably would have started a lot earlier.
Hey, Jeff, you mind if I cover Utah real quick in case I lose?
Andrew's out for battery. So he's going to go first. Give us your rundown, buddy.
Chris Long, more contents is coming because I forgot to send Toddy 2 of my videos, so those will come out at some point. That or you might already put them on. I'm not sure. So I played Utah Beach and then a chunk of helping wardrobe with the Commonwealth and British beaches. And in both cases, I think we saw a lot of German units that were okay, like reasonable on defense, trying to cover way too much frontage. And just ridiculously lacking in any offensive capability. Todd had a little bit better luck with that, but let me speak to Utah in particular. I had a huge issue where the Germans didn't have a cohesive kind of area, to set up a defensive line. Like they had a pocket, right? The issue is there wasn't any holding the Americans back, so trying to establish defensive lines. The Utah map basically has the Americans coming in the upper right quadrant, and the Germans, they kind of get stuck covering, a great big L shape with nowhere near enough troops to do that. So I think, Todd, what did mine wind up lasting to? The 13th or the 12th?
I think the 12th.
I think the 12th, yeah. Where on the 12th, finally, I got some German offensive capability. But by that time, the Americans had managed to essentially... So on the Utah Beach map, you can't sever the Cotentin Peninsula because it doesn't extend all the way to the other side. That being said, I feel like I would have been in a position to have done that because I had... all of the German exit points, but the one to the very north, immediately along the coast, blocked. There's a cool function in Day of Days where you can block reinforcement points, like you can close them down. So you not just block them by sitting on the hex they come in on, but you can close them down. I was lucky enough that on Utah Beach, I did have the capacity to do that for victory points. Everywhere else, it was just a function of the game. But basically, I needed to get an infantry battalion, a full infantry battalion. It did not have to have full steps, but it had to be 3 infantry companies and a mortar company move off, which I was trying to do with my airborne. The issue is, and I didn't realize this until I was playing, only the glider infantry regiments had mortar companies with their infantry battalions. So that gave me some trouble, but then I realized that if I could organize road marching, then getting guys from, the 4th Infantry Division, the 90th Infantry Division, the 9th Infantry Division was not an insurmountable task. Basically, it just had to be a battalion strength force from the same banded formation. So 3 infantry companies and a mortar company from the same division goes off. Germans can no longer use that entry point. By the end of June 12th, when I don't remember what German division was finally coming down that had a little bit of armor support. Sorry, bear with me on the bird noises and whatnot. I was in a position where the Allies had, like I said, blocked all but 2 German entry points. Well, the 2 entry hexes for the same entry point. And would have had the Germans essentially, looking at a frontage that was 3 stacks deep and in a U shape towards the German entry hexes. So they weren't even in a position where they could really attack at an advantage. You basically have 2 hexes to attack 1 hex, as opposed to when you're attacking a bulge, you can usually get 3, maybe 4 hexes attacking. So between that and then basically everything having a defense strength between 14 and 15 strength points, whether they were, 256 or 246 units, it was not a thing. It was also in bocage, which is an automatic left shift. So the Germans would have had to been able to put 75 strength points of attack into a hex in order to get a 4-to-1 attack. So that was just not in the cards. The Germans didn't have any artillery. Allied artillery support between artillery, air, and naval gun support was overwhelming. You can ask these guys, or you guys saw the videos. I was able to start just DJing every German stack I wanted to attack, and then some other ones, to the point where I saved my air and my battleships on clear days for just DGing Axis artillery, so that my attacking stacks couldn't get DG'd. So that it really threw the Germans on their back foot quite literally the entire time. I think, as always, it's a whole lot easier to coordinate our command and control when we are one person supervising the entirety of everything. And, not having to worry about 44 radios and everything else. So I had a ball, but that was Utah Beach. Utah Beach by June 12th was overwhelmingly American. As soon as an American armored division were to land, we could get Cobra kicked off.
So how much struggle was there hitting the beach?
Excuse me. The beach actually wound up being a lot costlier than the airborne landings, because the airborne landings, you wind up regaining all of those steps. So it's really not, at least for me, I wound up regaining almost all the steps that I lost on the airborne landings.
Right.
So it wasn't a concern. I was not able to regain the steps that I lost on the beach. You don't automatically, attrition doesn't automatically take steps off the beach units, but it can, getting off the beach is rough. I concentrated my naval gunfire and my air to try and hammer the nests that were right on the beach, and that did a pretty good job in either neutralizing or DGing them right off the bat.
And what about Cherbourg? Are we repairing the ports?
The Germans might just say, forget about this. I'm not sure that the Germans had enough time to concentrate forces.
Right.
Inside Cherbourg.
You cut. Okay, so the map doesn't go all the way to the coast out to what the I can't read that stuff out there, to the the left side of wherever the defense is of the
To the
German.
west.
Yeah, west. But did you cut the map all the way across?
I did. Those were the first hexes that I closed were actually the C and D hexes, which were immediately across from the south end of Utah Beach. So those were the two that I could gain victory points for closing, and those were the two that I closed right off the bat.
Right.
So that was part of my sprint. I don't know if again, if you watch the videos, you hear me go, oops. I sprinted to split the coat and tan.
Right.
Not to take Carentan. So I had to kind of regroup so that I could get the command points going, but it worked out.
All right. And your probably major terrain objective was Carentan?
Yeah, so that was the only place. I didn't have a big city like Bayo or Khan or anything else, that had multiple victory point hexes. I think Carentan might have had 2.
Right.
So mine were mainly achieved by closing exits, taking those 1s and 2s, and then I did succeed in removing every German resistance nest as well. So I didn't lose a point for that. I gave myself the 2 points for being able to remove the remainders of an airborne and infantry division because I had several turns to do that and I could road march them clean off the map. But yeah, so it's good. I do not remember my exact score. I apologize, guys.
That's okay. But would you say that your efforts were a drastic improvement over historical efforts in that region?
I don't know if I would call it drastic. I think I sped the timetable along a little bit. I think Lawton Collins gets a promotion that he didn't necessarily get historically.
Right.
Putting myself as Lawton Collins in charge of 7th Corps, but yeah. So yeah, I think he gets a little bit of shine in Omar Bradley's eye that he might not have gotten historically. But ultimately, Utah was, I think, without a whole lot of argument, the most successful beach landing out there. So they just they didn't hit anything major and cutting coat and tan. That's why they were then in such a good position once Goodwood happened to just punch across with Cobra. So,
and what about the airborne troops? How would you rate their performance in that fight?
Excuse me, quite good, to be honest with you. They don't have a lot of artillery support, obviously, but they did well. They've got some weird rules for Utah where they have to concentrate the first couple turns within 5 hexes of the causeways over, I think it's the Margaret maybe, but that was not a big issue. They wound up doing that. That kind of gave them time to regroup with some of those stragglers, wait for turn 4 when they got the guys who lost a step and had to hold on the DZs as they were getting organized. So then once they did that, they were able to punch pretty good. Their big thing was they were able to use road march and then their normal movement to prevent German reinforcements from organizing, right? Which is kind of their whole entire point. But yeah, so it worked out well. They performed well. I wasn't, sitting there cursing like, why are these guys so weak? I knew that, they don't have any heavy weapons. So an airborne company is good for taking and holding. So in using them as something to take and hold, they performed quite well.
All right. And then last question here. So one of the things, and historically they were trying to, linking up all the beachheads, how long did it take you to clear down to where the major thoroughfares crossing over to Omaha?
So again, that was Carentan, and I could have taken it, I feel like, a turn or two sooner, but I was focused on cutting the Cotentin until I realized, oh wait, my command points come from taking Carentan. So I think it was 2 or 3 days, and I took Carentan. Probably could have pushed it at second day, kind of like historically.
No, good man. Good synopsis for Utah, man. Excellent. Good work. Victory at that end. All right,
it is starting to set, and I'm getting eaten alive. I'm going to bid you all adieu.
Cool.
It's outstanding to see you guys.
Have fun.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for helping.
All right. Yeah, Andrew was out in the woods doing some little camping stuff with some folks. So, all right. So let's do Omaha because that one's probably the easiest of all of them. So, So I had Omaha Beach with the 1st, the 2nd, the 29th, and some Rangers and 2nd Armored eventually coming on. And while from what I understand in history, that beach was just a blood pin for the Allies. I didn't have that issue. I was able to just dust through whatever defenses were sitting there and then started driving inland. I think the struggle with me was being able to get commands out, not having enough ability to get commands out to multiple formations to do their thing. I had to focus on what I had working. So 1st Infantry Division, why not? Choose probably what was the most experienced at the time and put all my focus on them to start driving just straight south. And I would say that my major victory location was going to be Saint-Lô. Never touched it. I got near it, started to do one attack there and realized, you know what, I don't need to, because I had scattered victory locations all over the back end of the map. And I knew that the German forces, it was the 352nd that started in there. They were pretty static, I guess. But once we broke through there, everything else on the map in the region for the Germans, they all had to scatter and fall back to different locations or different defensive positions. And they just never could get enough force. 17th SS Panzer Grenadier came on, and had they all come on within a turn or two of each other and could have focused somewhere, maybe, but there were too many holes that had to be plugged, and they just did not have enough to get in there and plug these holes. And then, of course, once I started getting three activations, you get 3 infantry divisions or 2 infantry divisions and an armored division. I mean, 2nd Armored Division almost didn't have to do anything. I think they got involved maybe once or twice in some quick stuff. 1st ID, 2nd ID, and the 29th Infantry Division. I actually returned the 29th Infantry Division to the coast to try to clear up all the remaining nests, and actually left one nest on there. But it was just a total smoke show for the Allies. And yeah, I mean, I've got both ends of the beach open up going towards the Commonwealth beaches, and I got the road to Carentan wide open. So I'd say that was a big success. And I'm looking historically here. Bring this up real quick. I'm looking at let's see. Let me flip my camera here. Oops, wrong one. Sorry. So I'm looking at this map here, and Saint-Lô is sitting, I guess, right in here. I did not take Saint-Lô, but the rest of this looks like pretty much what I accomplished on Omaha Beach. And by the way, Ann McMurray was explaining it, because that map cuts off like right in here somewhere, I think, in the game.
We can't see your mouse.
Can't see him pointing around.
Oh, okay. Oh, duh. Now can you?
Yeah.
So I think the map for Day of Days cuts off somewhere in here. It doesn't go out to the coast. And this bubble looks like, I think Andrew might have gotten more than they did here by the 15th, but Carentan's sitting in here, and he did clear that. So I can do that too.
Yeah, I mean, I think he got it on the 12th or something. He got all that.
So we successfully opened up these roads, and I cleared out the road headed towards the Commonwealth beaches.
This is a great map, man. This is cool. Glad you found this.
And this is a German map.
Very.
So
the German map, yeah.
German map, nice.
All right, so let's flip this thing back over to. Let's bring in. So let's.
Got a lot of people on here. Good to see everybody.
All right, so before we get to the Commonwealth, all right, so Rob, what did you have over there in the 101st 82nd area? The little missions you had.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
I did 3 missions with the 101st, 2 of them Carentan, and the other one was Sainte Marie, which was redone in the Hassel from MMP. So I've done the scenario version, not the newer one, but the actual accurate map. So it's kind of funny that 2 of them were almost the same battles, but completely different maps. Overall, they went well for the Americans on all 3 attacks. No issues with that. The 101st, I mean, they're 747s in the ASL, so it's with 8th assault fire. It's really hard to knock them down. Plus, their leadership is just crazy. So yeah, those scenarios went well.
Well, I watched your 101 rush on Carentan, and that started off interesting. and then it looked like it changed there for a minute once all the smoke dissipated and the Germans started to respond. But I think once the Americans took the VPs that were necessary, the Germans just didn't have enough to take them back. I think that they held on to one, I think, at the end, or did they take any more after that?
They only had one.
Yeah.
I think there was 8 points worth, and they only had like 1 point worth. I needed 5, I think.
Right.
But yeah, no, the OBA came in at the right time to help me fend them off, break that little push that they were about to do on the side.
And what about in the Omaha region?
That was a bloody beach. I played that solitaire twice. The first time I realized I'd made a shitload of mistakes because I completely misread half of the seaborne invasion in Chapter G in the rulebook. So things like if you're on the beach, you don't break, you become fanatic, or you get casualty reduced. Now, what sucks for that is if you have a lot of half squads, they get casualty reduced, they're gone. So half your force is going to get wiped out right away, or you're going to have your elite or your first line squads casualty reduced, and you don't have any heavy weapons yet because you're in the water trying to navigate all those obstacles, trying to get onto the damn beach. I think I would have won the first one if I had played it properly, and on the second one, I just had too many enemy pillboxes. I mean, there's 50 long sitting in a pillbox, 175. I mean, they knocked my landing craft out of the water before I could even beach. So it was definitely very bloody. Germans won that day.
Yeah, I don't know if Day of Days. I mean, okay, they made the beach landings pretty simple, and you pretty much just roll a dice for success or not success or drift or whatever it is to which hex they're going in. So, I mean, I don't think that the landings are probably represented in, I hate to use the word, but in a more historically violent fashion, you know?
Yeah, I think Normandy 44 is the same way because you're rolling basically against a weak ass strong point, which it's like 2 combat points, and then you're rolling to see if your duplex drive tanks make it onto the beach or not. So there's no real combat fighting, especially at Omaha. I mean, the CRT is a little bit tougher than the other beaches, but it's definitely not the focus of, I think, most of those efforts. It's get onto the beach and then slug it out.
Right. For a lot of these names that I maybe not called us first time around, I see Frenchie near Frenchie, Rogue Sky Pilot. Hey, thanks for coming over, guys. The 4 of us, 3 of us played. Each took a beach in the SCS game Day of Days. And then Rob here, he played a bunch of squad leader scenarios that were spread out between all the areas that we were fighting on our beaches in, and sort of give us some of the closer in tactical operations that happened or smaller scale things that happened. And it worked out really good. This is a first time run for us. And I know that each of us are picking up points of maybe what we can add to the next time we do this. We are talking about Market Garden in September, which will give us some time to get together. And most of you guys that are out there that are ACW know that Gettysburg is going to be the next big thing on the table. So that'll be coming up here soon too. But yeah, we're gonna build on this, and hopefully we'll get add some more stuff to this for the next time we start again when we do Market Garden in September. All right, Tom, let's jump over to the Commonwealth beaches and let you do your thing, and then we'll get Rob to fill in the holes on that.
Alrighty then. Let me share my screen. Present. Share screen. Let's see here. Window.
And Todd had the biggest mess to deal with of all of us.
Guess I'll share this screen. And we'll play.
God, I love that.
Oh, we got a movie. Nice.
Well, it's not a movie. Old-timey movie. All right, can you see that? Hold on, what are you seeing here?
I can see 2 slides, 1 of 6.
Yeah, let's cancel that. I see what it's doing here. Sorry, everybody. Go ahead and fill in the gap here. Vamp while I'm figuring this out.
All right, so while he's doing that, Rob, what did you do over in the Commonwealth area?
So my first mission was Ham and Bloody Jam, which was the taking of Pegasus Bridge. Those were the troops that were first on the ground on D-Day, and the Ox and Bucks were successful in this mission as well to secure the two bridges over the Orne River and the canal, and that's what they basically had to hold them until relieved from the airborne or from the guys at Sword Beach.
Right.
And based on Hexy's or Todd's reports, they were successful in the link up. But yeah, it was a good brief mission. They landed just about where they did in reality.
Right.
40 yards away from the pillboxes and the beach bridge itself.
Okay. Yeah, I saw somebody took a picture. It was a flyover, and I'm sure it was after it because it was old black and white, and
Right.
it looked to me like there were 2 or 3 gliders that weren't 50 yards from the bridge.
Yes. Yep. That's where they landed, 40 yards from the bridge. Completely caught the Germans off guard, able to quickly secure it. They only lost 2 guys in the endeavor. One got shot crossing the bridge, and the other guy died, unfortunately, when they crashed into the wetlands that were all over the place. But yeah, no, that's an awesome picture. I saw a couple of that on my Facebook friends.
Okay, so I don't know if you played any or not. Were there any scenarios that dealt with con in ASL?
Not directly, but to the west of Con, there was 2 scenarios. One was from the German perspective, where it was, I think it was his name's Obergefrieder Brash, who's a German, and he's the guy that had the Shrek that killed, I think he killed 3 tanks out of a 5-tank convoy.
Wow.
And the rest of the guys with him basically destroyed the rest, which is basically the same thing that happened with my playthrough.
Right.
He because a scenario special rules said that he has a rate of fire of 1, which I rolled a 1. So he kills the first tank. It almost landed on the second tank, the turret. I was off by 1. If I would have rolled this, I think it was a 6, then it would have landed on the second tank, destroying that as well, and rolled a 5. So that was pretty close. Yeah, very, very nice. But then
cool.
he blew up the second one. I had a guy in the back, blew up the last tank, and then they're basically pinned, and I was able to wipe them out. The second one was a lot more interesting, and that was the one I just played last night. It was on the deluxe boards, and the British were holding an area just west of Con, and units came in from the Lair Division to take back the ground that they were holding. It didn't turn out to be very good for the British in that scenario. I think I horribly underplayed them. But you're dealing with Panthers and the Sherman 5 Charlie, which has a 76 double long, but there's only one of those, and the other tanks just could not pan the front of a Panther. So it was
Right.
It was quite interesting to play that one. I've never played that one before either, but that one was a German victory.
Well, so you actually got a couple scenarios in that you've never touched before.
Oh yeah, most of these I never actually. I don't think I've touched one except for Ham and Bloody Jam. I did that about 30 years ago when it came out. But the other ones I've never. I don't think I've done.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's quite interesting
to look at these maps like that and see. All right, I'm going to answer Slav. So Slav, you're not the only one. Andrew thinks the same thing about the maps for Day of Days. And Bocage is one of the things we all discussed about. Me, on the other hand, I think that they're the prettiest of all the SCS maps because I like all that fancy looking terrain stuff. But I get what everybody says, and we discussed it a lot between us about the transfer from light to heavy Bocage, trying to understand what it was and what the difference was. So, all right, Toddley, you ready there, buddy?
Yeah, let's see what happens here. I think I got my screen up to show, and let's see what happens. Okay, so are you seeing just a whole slide now?
There you go.
You can see the whole picture.
Yep. Get that off.
Okay, and I'm not going to be able to. I don't think I have the ability to point on this right now, so sorry about that. All right, so yeah, this is a lot. There's a lot going on here. I got 3 beaches and airborne as well, as you all know. And kind of going, Gold Juno Sword. Is that right? Yeah. Gold Juno Sword.
Yes.
Left to right. So this is the picture I'm going to show are the end of each day. So this is the end of June 6th. The yellow line, of course, is kind of how far I had advanced. The big blob down there, again, I can't point. Something's not working here. I'm not really clear what's going on, but is Con. The Pegasus Bridge was taken. So they were able to start, I think that's the British British 3rd Infantry Division over there, I think, and so they were able to start crossing over the Pegasus Bridge. So that was nice. You see them, some of them are starting to go down along that side to go take that Column Bell victory hex. Again, basically, I had to take 12 victory hexes, which are all the towns. Of course, Con is like 18 of them. 12 of those, and I had 2 maps I was playing on. If there were any strong points on either map, like it could be 1 or it could be 10. If it doesn't matter how many, if there's 1 or more left, that'd be -1 victory point. So I kind of always had the goal, like, okay, I'm not going to worry about the strong points, so I need 14 victory points. If I can clear them out, great. If not, I'm not too worried about it because I'm shooting for 14. So you got Con with all those, and you got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or so on the east of the Orne, and then the rest of them are kind of spattered all around, including Bayou, Carpet Airfield, the Carpet itself, Surmail. I'm sorry, butchering the names, but a bunch of little towns that I honestly had never really heard of, but I'm sure there's big battles down there. Oh, Villers Bocage is one. So all the little bars you see on there, the leftover sprue that I cut out from the counters to kind of keep me intact, like where I wanted the divisions to go. Because it's super easy in this, just kind of spread you guys all around and just do stuff. Although divisional integrity does matter in this. I don't know if you explained it, Jeff, but after the first, I don't know, 2, 4, definitely 4, maybe 5, 6 turns, you then have command points given to you, and it's pretty liberal, but you're limited, right? So I could only activate, I think, 3 to 4 British divisions or something at a time. The Germans could do 2 or 3 or 2. So it limited you, but you could choose what you had. There was no limitation to that. Like you could say, I want both 3rds and the 50th to go or something. I mean, you could decide. Like the airborne, very little very often didn't do much. Now, if you didn't have an activation chit, you could still move them, but you couldn't move Zoc to Zoc, and there are some limitations. So it's not like the airborne was just sitting there. They could move, they just couldn't combat. And I thought that was a kind of a neat way of, abstracting limited supply coming onto the beaches. Like you can't just do everything you want.
Right. Did you struggle with that? Your selections?
Not a whole lot. That I thought that was kind of interesting. It's like, but it kind of came down to the wire on a few things. I think because I really focused on certain divisions doing the attacking, and airborne, I don't know, the commandos, I don't know, 2 or 3 others. We're just kind of there to kind of clean up in the back, make sure the Germans didn't get salty and froggy and start doing crazy stuff. Now, the thing is, they could still barrage. So usually I would keep on my barrage, for my attacking forces, I keep the barrage units a hex or 2 back. With the non-activating units, I'd always put the barrage units up front, because you can barrage anything that's adjacent to you even if you don't have a division activated. So, but they couldn't be spotted for, because non-activated can't spot. So it's that was one way I kept able to use some resources there. So that was June 6th. So it was taking me about 3 to 4 hours a turn to play. And it got it got really heavy in the first couple weren't bad. The last few weren't as bad, but the middle ones they were the long ones. This is the end of the 7th, and a little unit, I wish I could point to, you can see some circles there. The circles within the thing where German strong points or German units kind of hanging on, and the circles outside of that big blob was a British unit that was trying to get down. There was a British unit that got way down to Carpet down on the 6th of June. So it's kind of funny, the little things that could happen, that did happen, that it super hard to happen on this. So I was fortunate compared to the other guys, because I had on the east side there, you can kind of see where it's kind of a, I don't know what you want to call that, maybe the darker green that's actually open land, which is kind of cool. Now you see my shadow there. I see that, and where I was taking the picture of my fan, but that's open terrain, so you can actually exploit. But all this kind of checkered stuff to the west or to the left of the picture, that's that bocage. And then at the very bottom left is that's the heavy bocage. And so I didn't really have to mess with that a whole lot because that heavy stuff was down there and I kind of got down there near the end. But you can't do any exploitation in that. And that's a huge thing in this game. So, we've talked about this before. You can usually attack like 3 or 4 times, but not here. But it's cool because it kind of, so it's hard to get units to go all the way down. And if you go back to the 6th, the 21st Panzer Division, were they Panzer? Yeah. 21st Panzer Grenadier, I think. Anyway, they were able to get on back to the beaches. Luke Sermer, between Gold and Juno and Sword. And it's kind of where that stick is pointing. That white stick is pointing out into the water. Kind of looks like a harbor. A mulberry bar, it's kind of sticking on the land in the harbor. They were actually able to make it there and were restaffing the strong points there, which I think is pretty wild. But then they saw the gliders flying over to reinforce over in the east of Oran, and they freaked out and thought, holy crap, we got to get out of here. So they backed off. So, it was minimal, but it would be kind of fun to do that here because then it would make the Allied go, crap, I gotta watch myself here. There was no way that was happening. I would have to be a way better German player to make that happen. I don't know. I mean,
well, you're so June 6th and the June 7th image you had up. It looks like you kept. Your airborne's a little scattered, but they're still in their little zone. Looks like you kept a lot of your force integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no, that's why I set those things out so I could. And I had that crazy map I drew on there that I'd showed in the beginning when we started this on the 5th. Where I was like, okay. And I did that because, again, I heard and learned from Ty, who was playing GTS, where it's just, there's a lot to think about. And you're going to do better if you kind of, you don't have to do historical, but you kind of play it the way their armies are built. They built them that way for a reason.
Parcel it into manageable chunks.
Yeah. It's the whole
target. Yeah.
2 up, 1 back or whatever. And I'm like, okay. Like Andrew was even like saying he was keeping stuff kind of, keeping it together there, keeping the 3 infantry companies and their support units, because that's kind of why they were built that way. Now you ended up kind of spreading out and doing stuff that would probably have been, a more complicated game would, penalize you for. But anyway, it just helped you. So anyway, so back to June 7th, let's keep making here. So you can see I'm pushing to Con. I'm pushing past, I think at this point I might have taken Columbell, which is over on the east, right there. And then there's the 8th. That's good. So kind of getting a little static line, like on a World War I-ish, sort of, actually. But you can see how thin the Germans are. Like looking over there on the west side. You can't really see them because there's not very many of them. So then you're just trying to then I started thinking here at this point, you can see some little bulges there that the Germans have. Well, what you want to do is surround them, get them out of supply, and then DG them, and they're quartered. Their defense is quartered. That's amazing. And it was real. You got to really stay real focused on like, what am I trying to do? Don't get stuck. Some guy that's units up there near the beach. Just surround them with a couple weak units, and they're not going to attack you. And then move everybody around. But I started thinking, okay, I got to get a couple roads clear so I can do this road march thing. And the road march is one of the first steps in the turn. And that. Then McMurray came and helped me, and you'll see the difference here. McMurray came over and helped me. We played 6.5 hours on Memorial Day.
Who's hanging on in that pocket right there for the Germans? Is that
okay, so was that my okay, so I think that bulge there, that's Panzer Lehr. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Panzer Lehr comes on, and they were scooting up here, and Panzer Lehr got up there, and I said, I'm going to try to do with Panzer Lehr what 21st did. That was really honestly a mistake. I'd say that was my biggest mistake as the Germans. Because I got up there, I kept the Allies occupied. You can see it's kind of kept that bulge and made it stronger. And they got in there a ways. But yes, it was dumb because the British or the Commonwealth forces were all were able to close a bunch of them off. And I was like, well, okay, that was dumb. So that was probably my biggest mistake. I needed to spread them out. Like I was saying about divisional integrity. So the Germans were really kind of spread out. So it was kind of hard to do. Like the 21st was in some area, the 7/16, I'm going to mess up the numbers. 7/16, 3/52nd, I think. And the they were kind of spread out, so it's hard to do that. But I thought, let's shift them where they're together at least. And so Panzerlehr really should have reinforced this west side over here and kind of bump up there. I started to back up some of the troops in the pocket, and I think that was the right thing to do. But man, it was hard because by then they were getting some momentum. Because here's what happened at the end of McMurray and I were able to do 4 turns in 6.5 hours, and this is what happened.
Boom, shakalaka.
Wow. And that's a push.
Guess which side McMurray had. He had that west side. So, and at this point, we said, and I should have caught the picture on the map. So that bulge there, that's Panzerlehr up there. That looks like a little, like, I don't know, like a little chicken or face or something. I don't know what that's Panzerlehr stuck up there. So McMurray was using all the commando units to hold victory hexes. Then we said, you know what, we need to close these entry hexes. So what you had to do is you had to commit a battalion to do that. So 3 companies and their mortar team, and then you had to keep it in supply. So you would exit those guys off, and then you lost them. I think we determined I used, we'll see it here in just a minute. Anyway, so you can see that all that area near Caen, I mean, I'm still pretty far from Caen, honestly. And the airborne over on the east side, they're just kind of getting bunched up there. And that messy area over there on the very far right that's kind of cut off, that's swamp. You can't do jack with that stuff. I mean, you're attacking half out of it. It's terrible area. And there's some roads coming in there. So my goal there was to try to cut some of those road offs, because this is where a bunch of stuff was going to come on at some point. And yeah, and so there's that. And then here's June 10th. So yeah, you don't see much of a thing because most everything here is Commonwealth. Those X's are all the closed off exit points. 6, 7, 8, 9. So we had 9 battalions went out there. So what is that? Good Lord. That's 3 regiments. So give or take.
Wow. That's okay. Yeah, you got that flood of those lightweight infantry divisions that rolled in over there.
Yep. Yeah. So, and then all this, there's just some kind of lines of people. This is me getting ready for road march, because you can't be stacked to road march. So I'm just like, all right, lining all these guys up, and they're able to zoom all over here to the right. And it was at this point that I was like, you know what? So what we had done is the Germans could only enter in one of 3 studs, 2 of them in swamp. Well, 3 of them in swamp, and you can't cross that river. So then we're like, where are they going to go? Yeah. I mean, so the British were just going to put it, and it would just be a redundant. They were not going to capture. I had like, I don't know how many victory hexes I had at this point, because Caen's taken, except for a couple. And those guys that are circled in Caen, I ended up playing. I think I might have played a little bit of the 11th just to kind of say I cleared it out. No, and there were no strong points on the left map. The right map had some. Like, I think Maryville Battery was still there. I think I might have actually finally defeated that one. But so that was that. That felt really good. And I would say that we not only did this, but we didn't have a Fillet Gap situation. We destroyed all those, and we were pretty much the Commonwealth were in. Maybe they weren't in Berlin by Christmas, but they were doing pretty good.
Definitely pushing it.
And then this is kind of all the maps, just kind of in one picture. 6 on the top left, then over to the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th.
That is two huge leaps there on the 9th and 10th.
I know.
Holy shit.
It's like Cobra started on the 9th.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that would be Goodwood over here on this side.
Wow.
So
yeah, I guess once y'all opened up the path, and of course I was watching y'all when y'all played that little piece of it. So
yeah, you were on for a little bit of that.
That was interesting to see. McMurray's aggressive, so we know what it's going to happen when he gets involved. I mean, and if the dice go the right way. So, all right. So, well, you rolled up Caen, and that's definitely the key. We know that the roads to other beaches were opened up. Your British para, they kept the bridges open. How much did you get across the bridges from the landing forces? From the beach landing forces?
Oh, I mean, a bunch of. I started moving I think it was the 3rd over there, but why do I think it's the 50th?
3rd Canadian or 3rd?
No, the 3rd Canadian were the light ones. They were on the west of Orne. Their goal was to get to Carpet and pass that into parts of Caen,
right,
in the west. I think it was 3rd British that landed in Sword.
Yeah, the 50th were more by gold.
Okay. Yeah. The 50th came on like. Did they land there the first day?
I'm not sure, but the one I played yesterday, the deluxe one, that was just west of Con there against the Lair division.
Yeah, that's right. The 5th and then the 3rd. So yeah, the 3rds were kind of. I mean, they would have been next to each other anyway, so it was a little confusing. But so anyway, yeah, it was fun. But yeah, we can talk about the. It was funny. Yeah, we can talk kind of about the player morale here whenever you want to talk about that. But it was good. We got it. We got it won. I was so thankful for McMurray to come in because I would have been. It was a lot moving all that stuff.
You had the biggest task.
Airborne 3 beaches.
Oh my God! Yeah. One last question.
Thanks, Nordic.
Darn it! It just slipped completely out of my mind. I had a question I wanted to ask. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. I mean, you took Con, so that opened up the crossings.
Yeah.
Which would have been far more efficient than having to sweep down to the south, like Villers-Bocage, and try to get crossings on the river because you still had to be able to push to the Orne. So once you took Con and the bridges across, and that might be another thing that this game needs is to blow bridges. So before we go to the morale thing, okay, and let's take this in 2 pieces here. So for me and you, Todd, for Day of Days, on a 1 to 10, 10 being the best, does this game, Day of Days, does it give an accurate representation play-wise?
Well, I mean, it seems like, again, maybe again, I kind of messed up as the defender. So I don't think everyone has had this experience playing this. I'll say a 7. Answer your question, 6 or 7.
And I wouldn't have gone above a 7. Only because I think the game, SCS is fun to play, and I think this game's fun to play. And for me, with the maps being as gorgeous as they are, makes it that much more fun. But like I said, I think the lack in defense during the landings, there's really not much going on. But I get it. It's SCS. You want to get into the system, get playing and driving inland. I think once off the beaches, it's not too bad. I couldn't spread German forces far enough to cover everything. It was just not, even with that big swamp I had right in the middle of the battlefield. Once I broke a hole through, the Germans just had nothing. Now, maybe there been more reinforcements coming into that area, which you kind of would have thought. I mean, okay, so obviously Con is going to be the first defensive priority goal, you would think, for the Germans, because that's the nearest major crossing to get them going to the east and towards Germany. So, but you kind of thought they would have tried to keep the whole front glued together by getting some more stuff into the center. And it just wasn't there. I was never going to get enough reinforcements there. So all in all, like I say, Cobra's going to go off without a hitch. My forces on Omaha didn't take the beating that I think they took originally in 1944. And it looks like your progression, once you all opened up that left side, that west side, it was a smoke show over there too. So
I think that's where Lair should have gone over there
and
would have slowed that down. And I think maybe it's so hard to know how to do a defensive kind of what do you call it, fighting ritual. My goal was like kind of move back a couple, but I didn't. Somehow you just stayed static, and then it was like I should have maybe moved him back and then really filled up Con like crazy. And like, well, but the thing is, you could win without Con. That was kind of a cool thing about the victory conditions. Like, you don't have to take Con, you just got to take everything surrounding it.
So you just don't turtle in Con. You actually have to defend everything.
Yeah. Well, and I know when I played Dead a couple of years back that because I was only playing these 2 beaches, I wasn't even thinking about the other beaches. Is this river line? I did everything I could to try to stop the bridges, but it wasn't going to happen. But we did do a dam on the British. I was never able to get them any real help because of that damn inlet between the 2 rivers.
Yep.
And then, so my thing is this side over here pulled back down to this river. And I don't even remember how that ended, but I can't remember if the Commonwealth forces got across us. So I mean, my line was con down this way, and I don't think I ever did take con in my game. So,
well, I was going to ask, did you win?
I can't remember. It's so long. Somebody's have to go back and watch all my videos and tell me what I did.
Well, that's what I was just doing. I was going to go look at them. So I think yeah, I mean, I think better defensive play would. I mean, I'm going to guess that they played this because it's not hard to play this campaign. A lot of games you go like, how in the world did they play Atlantic Walls campaign many times? I guarantee you they play tested this, and I'm sure the Germans win it often. It just was.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't doubt it, and I would. Well, it's good you got Murray to help because you had the biggest fight and the most to deal with.
Yeah,
so that's definitely that could be a 2, 3, 4 player scenario just right there on its own.
It seems like it. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I would say 6 or 7.
Yeah,
and yeah.
Rob, you got any more messages here before we talk about our burnout morale and how smoked we are?
No, I'm ready to burn out now. Yep.
All right, Todd, you started this. Let's get into that player morale.
So initially, I mean, there was a point very soon in. So the landings are actually pretty easy. There's not a whole lot to do there. Actually, the Germans probably got more to think about, like how am I going to defend this coming up? But just then when you start getting into it with all the mortars and this has been talked about before because every battalion's got a mortar, plus you got all the things, you got to keep everything, all the artillery moving up and rolling for all that in the air and all that stuff. You're just a lot to do, and you're just kind of like, okay. And sometimes a lot happens and sometimes not much happens. But it was kind of interesting. So I'd occasionally be like, oh geez, man, I hope this ends quick. I don't even know if I'm going to finish. But then you kind of do and have a good turn where you're like, okay, now I'm starting to see progress and then just kind of thinking about kind of the big picture, like, man, this is pretty cool. I'm playing all the Commonwealth beaches. I mean, there's a lot there. And I was at the same time, I'm listening to a book about Juno from Zawacki or something, I think his name is. He pretty much only writes about Canadian forces and stuff. He's got a trilogy about Juno, landing, defending, breaking out. He also did that in Italy. And so it's kind of cool. It's kind of it's the Canadian. He's really good on the Canadian side of things for that. And I'm sure there's some British guys too that have written about the British beaches similarly. So it was cool. That was kind of helped me keep going too, because I'd be hearing stories. Also, Stopping the Panzers is a great Juno book in the Canadian point of view.
Right.
So that helped me keep my player morale. And then McMurray coming over and helping me was
that was a change.
Huge. And he also helped me set up. And then I was done and he was still playing. So
I'm amazed that we got all 3 of them to a completed state, whether it was to the 15th or not. Right. I don't think that I played the Commonwealth beaches before, and this also we're going to answer Nord's question here. Nord, so that's why I didn't play the Commonwealth beaches this time, because I had already played them before. So Todd took that, and of course you got to give Andrew the 101st and 82nd, or he won't be happy. So he grabbed that one. That kind of left me with Omaha. And but as for the rest of us playing, I imagine we've played.
I played the Commonwealth beaches before because I was going to do that very thing, and then something happened. I couldn't finish or something, so I'd played those once before.
But we've all played other games that have portions of beach landings.
I know, but for specifically Day of Days, that was my first time really playing the whole thing.
Tactics 2 to decompress. Heck with that, I'm gonna play a computer war game. So
that's what I do.
Morale-wise, for me, it was. I think the only morale hit I took is that it was so that Omaha, my sector, was just sort of ho-hum. Once the 352nd was pretty much broken up, it was just blah, blah.
Yeah, that's kind of the impression I got from when we would kind of talk about things. Be like, I never really got much of an impression you were. Did you have fun?
And if I could have put second armor to better use, that could have been a real interesting concept. And honestly, I think, St. Louis stuck down in the corner of my map, so there's no way you're not going to surround it or anything. But had that map maybe been a little bigger, cutting off St. Louis completely could have been a question, or could have been a possibility. So let's see. If von Manstein was not, hey, Uncle Eric, don't mess with Uncle Eric, and had been assigned to Normandy, you said, well, hey, I think everybody always talks about the biggest Well, if you watch movies and stuff like that, is them damn panzers not being close enough to the beach. That's to be one of the bigger discussions. Plus, what is the other thing on the German side? So we got to leave like a whole hour of the show for Rob to talk about the morale hit he took on this stuff. So what is the what is the one thing that's just literally completely missing from the German side, the German defense?
And besides aircraft?
Yeah, aircraft.
Slow to. I think they were slow to react.
Yeah.
I believe, if I remember reading a long time ago, that they still thought it was a feint up to a certain point. They didn't think it was the real attack. And I think a large part of this, you could probably blame Hitler for it, because he kept trying to run the Marshall's War instead of letting them. So even Manstein might have, issues trying to pull those panzers into where he thought they might be a good position. Well,
Manstein was a great counter to a lot of operations by Allies, Soviets, whatever. Great counters. I mean, I think he'd have been a great fit over here
if he had the freedom to act. Sure.
Yeah. Would he have the freedom to act?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and there was just a lot of. I mean, it was just miscommunication and the whole not hierarchy, but bureaucracy, sort of, so to speak, and the politics of generals not liking generals and afraid of Hitler and blah blah blah. I mean, that hurts a lot, and just like communication is a problem, and and I mean, I don't know how long it went. I can't remember. Some of the books talked about it, and I heard some of the YouTube videos on it, but I mean, they were thinking it was a feint for a month. I mean, it was a long time because I mean, they kind of be like. So
I wonder if Manstein had been in charge, given the terrain he had to deal with, Bocage and all that.
Oh my God!
It's so hard to fight through.
Yeah,
you probably could have done a good number on the Allies.
Yeah.
Again, if you had freedom of movement.
Well, and I'm gonna go back to that one too, the freedom of movement, because the confines that, and I mean, even Rommel, he was going to be fine with the two he had. Of course, he answered to who? He was answering to. Was it Model? No, who was he answering to? Because there was somebody between him and Hitler. Who was in charge? Was it Model? That was the.
What does that sound? I don't know. Sounds familiar, but
he was OK West or something like that.
Yeah.
Runstedt. Thank you, von Runstedt. Okay, all right, good call there, Mikey. So I agree. No aircraft and no freedom, and it's funny to talk about that because the Prussian concept of chain of command was. Let those smaller elements act under their own, it's one of the things. Here's your objective. You figure out how to do it.
When some of your staff has tried to kill you, things start to happen.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So a player morale, I was definitely done. When that was done, I was boom. And then that
you
table
were
was clear.
Pink when you were done with that game.
And I was laughing. I was like, sweet. And that table was cleared off. And I was doing. So I played couple Panzerleader games, like the original Panzerleader, and some mini games. And I was like, okay, let's play something without much, a little less mental, strenuous stuff.
I do like the way you kept your division separate and moving down those lines of advance. It's very,
thanks. Yeah, that
cool.
I learned that. Yeah, GTS. I'm going to play most games that way now. Like, let's think through. Like, it's kind of fun to do that, right? To kind of put your limitations on yourself and hopefully the game kind of rewards that a little bit. If it doesn't, then you don't have to worry about it. Like I'm playing Axis and Allies here just to see what it's like. You don't have to worry about stuff like that.
Right.
That's all right, Rob. All right, Rob. Let's
so
see what you got.
I came kind of late to the party. I know you guys were talking about this for a while. And I think you invited me in with a week and a half before June 6th or something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't too long before. Yeah.
Right. So I played 10 games basically that week and a half.
I think you had the You might have had the hardest, the heaviest load.
And I did 2 of them twice. So it was 12 games because I didn't like the way that they went down. That was mainly the solitaire variants. And the one I played last night, I kept thinking, okay, I'm going to make the video. And then it's Tuesday. And I'm thinking, just do a live.
Yeah.
It was, I was making too many mistakes. They're just coming too fast, too furious. And a couple of guys kept pointing out, like when I fired a Panzer Shrek at units in the woods, well, a Shrek needs a hard target to make the charge work. and woods doesn't constitute that, but I kept doing it over and over. Just those little lapses of mistakes that I was making in my game, probably
Yeah,
because I was playing too many.
I heard you at one point say like, "Oh, I'm tired of that. I've done too much of this."
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that was a lot of ASL.
What would you do differently next year if
Um,
we do this again and you want to do it?
I would probably pick. Well, I do have this crazy idea based on how badly Bloody Omaha went. That if there's a Canadian unit, Royal Winnipeg Rifles, that landed at Juneau, we're there for the liberation of Caen. I'm thinking, why not make a historical campaign for solitaire ASL that would cover a beach landing, which does exist already in the rules for that. Work through a couple of missions, to go through Caen, maybe even make it all the way to the end of the war. But the only thing with that is I can't do it a day by day. It would have to be like a week, maybe week by week, maybe bi-monthly kind of thing. But I've been thinking about doing that anyways. Just writing one up. I'll put it on Game Squad like my other two, and make it a nice historical thing. So I was thinking I could do that.
That'd be cool.
But I definitely don't pick such a wide spectrum of games or scenarios. A lot of solitaire,
Right.
Different units, British versus Germans versus Americans, throw some Canadians in, it made it to bounce around too much. And it's really hard to focus on what's best. Like it was almost, I would say, having never been to a ASL tournament, it's probably like a tournament, two of them back to back. That's how many games, you're going through in a week. So I don't know how the guys do it. Kudos to those guys that can play 5 games over a 2.5 day span.
And so what you're saying is you would play just the British and Germans so that you don't have to remember what do the Americans do differently?
Right.
Okay.
And if there's a way to somehow connect them in some kind of campaign story, if you will.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Some of the units from the same, at least brigade, maybe division, that are participating all in attacks. ASL doesn't really work the way solitaire does. But if I could find scenarios that match that criteria, it might be nice to follow a set unit all the way from one to the other if I had to do it again.
That would be cool. It'd be a longer term kind of video project, but that would be pretty neat. Like June 6th, you're landing and playing that, and then I don't know, August 3rd, you're playing whatever battle they are in.
Right. Yeah.
That would be pretty awesome. I didn't realize you were making some of those solo missions. So everyone knows, so many games have solo things. Like you could play, I think I see Command and Colors Napoleonics back there. So in your table, they've made a way to play that solo just with the scenarios as written for the most part. Where in ASL, that's not really the case. And correct me where I'm wrong because I don't know this as well. Solo ASL or SASL. It's specific scenarios that they designed for ASL. So you can't just go take Pegasus Bridge and play it solo, right?
They have made, there's people out there, fans that have made rules to do just that.
Okay.
Play both sides. So you could, from a solitaire perspective, with a little bit of fog of war thrown in, which is the thing that makes I like solitaire ASL for that, because of the fog of war. If I have both sets of orders of battle, I know exactly what's going to happen. Well, I mean, I know what everything is on the board, so it's very hard to, is there a minefield in that open field that is there, but you have to consciously, would you send a unit there anyways? Those kinds of decisions that are taken out of your hands when you play strictly solitaire ASL.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Here's Nordic's question: is how many of us sit there and ponder all over the movement of troops during the game to the point that you sit there and think for a long time before committing to, and he continues that, any movement and attacks?
There are many times where I struggle with that in any game I play. And I think, and I'll guarantee that a lot of us do it. I'd almost guarantee that 100% of us at some point over-evaluate what it is we're trying to do. And I'll guarantee that 100% of us at the time under-evaluate what it is we need to, because you throw multiple objectives. Okay, and let's take the Germans on the East Front. Lots of Russian forces, while they may not have been quality at the start of it all right, and very well-trained, smaller German forces that we're in high states of maneuver constantly when you think of things like Barbarossa and stuff like that, the old Kesselschlag stuff. And every time I play a game, I'm playing one right now. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can dash this. Let's get these 3 Panzer divisions down here and cut this off. Then what does the brain say? Oh, hell, how am I going to get supply? Because, not every game has where I can fly Ju-52s in there and drop fuel and stuff for them. You got to trace the supply line. So I'll sit there. Sometimes I'll sit there a game. I might only have 6 or 7 units I'm moving or stacks or whatever. And it might take me 20 minutes to figure out what the hell I want to do with them. So, and I just think that's the brain working. That's, you're not just playing the game, just pushing shit around and don't care where it's going. You're actually thinking about, okay, what's the best success I'm going to get, or what's the best use to get me the best success I'm using. And I guarantee everybody does this stuff. So, and anybody, I know anybody, the names I'm saying in this list, I'll guarantee you they do. So, because I've watched some of their stuff and I've watched all of you guys play. I think it's awesome when you sit there and think, if you've got a turn that should only take you 20, 30 seconds or 5 or 10 minutes, and you don't do nothing for 2 days, it's not a knock. You just haven't grabbed the strategy that you want to apply to it. So
yeah, that's why I kind of like writing down on the maps and kind of writing down what my goals were, so I could kind of stick with those. And I kind of like the way McMurray plays pretty fast, and I kind of like that in a way without thinking about it too much. So that way, if you're playing solo, sometimes you might do something kind of done like he and I did when we played It Never Snows, and we got some troops way out, and we're like, when we kind of turned to the German side, we're like, oh, look at that. We left a nice opening there. So it's kind of like, which is kind of cool. That's what happens when you're playing against somebody. They're going to do stuff that surprises you. Here's a question. I think Rob talked about this, maybe some of his plans, maybe worked out.
Wait a minute, Todd. John, I think it's, we can all see all your all's comments, but I think like people that are viewing from a different channel might not be able to see the comments from viewers on another channel.
Yeah, we can see them all,
but we can see them all. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, we're getting into them. So Jeff, will you do this next year in some form or another?
You know what? Okay, so I like this. I think this is good. I think this was our trial run. And Rob, before you got on here, Rob and I were already talking about, I think, all right, so one mandatory incorporation, I think, for this now. I think it's going to be depending on what you're playing. Like, I don't know if he's going to do a squad leader if he plays squad leader. Hopefully by then we'll have increased his game library to like 400 games that aren't squad leader. But
no, don't. Right. I like him being
the progression map thing. That is now, and I'm going to start it with the game I'm playing over there. That's going to be a high priority. I think that is probably one of the biggest things we can incorporate. Now I'm going to start putting in videos is the best I can. And maybe why not just random pop-up live stream and show progression of the current battle you're playing. All right. That being said, and this is for everybody out there that's watching this stuff. Okay, like I say, this was the Olympic qualification round for us. Okay, trying to figure out whether or not we can actually get to the Olympics. So now, what we're going to need from everybody that's out there, and you can drop it on any one of our channels in the comments. If you have an idea that we could accomplish, all right, a thought that we could actually apply to what we're doing to make this more appealing or to give it more content or more detail, drop it in the comments on this video on one of the guys' channels, and we'll see if we can't get it. But like I say, number one is the progression map thing that Todd does. That's gonna be like a mandatory thing. I mean, if we're playing a game where that can be done, it's going to be a mandatory thing. And I think that thing can only get better and better and better as time goes on. So, and I will tell you the rest of y'all that the next thing that we've talked about doing will be Market Garden in September. That way it gives us some time to, pre-plan what we're going to do. And if we find something we do, we can start shooting that stuff now, getting the videos ready for now, and have this stuff ready to go. And of course, then when we do it, we'll do pre-drop like we did the pre-invasion, and we'll do post, we'll do completion after that. And I got a feeling that the second time we go through this, which, come on, we've rambled on here now for over an hour. All right. I think the follow-up, the conclusion will be even much, much better. Like I say, first time, I don't know if anybody's ever done this 4 different gamers trying to recreate this. And this is, like I say, first go around of it. I don't think it's too bad. I think it's pretty darn good what we've accomplished. Okay. And I think it's only going to get better. So you all out there in the comment world, like I say, drop comments, let us know, hey, include this, include that. Here's an idea. Let us know what it is so we can start getting that ready now before September. And of course, I'm going Gettysburg next. You might as well get that in your head as soon as I finish out what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm going to play, but it might surprise you what I do play.
I wouldn't have finished this if we weren't doing this thing. I wouldn't have finished the Commonwealth Beach though. I think I would have burnt out. Been like, nope, I'm good.
Yeah.
So I was really thankful that I had it because it was a good thing, a fun thing to push through it. And I think that's a lot of these games. Right? I think a lot of us, Brian makes fun of us, Hex Encounter people for not finishing the games because you can finish a miniature game in 2 to 3 hours or 1 to 3 hours, depending on what size you're playing. It's like, that's just not normal. Usually, if you're playing solo, I pretty much consider it takes double the time to play it solo versus if I was playing film face to face, right?
And when you film it and edit it and throw the rest of that in.
Yeah, well, and I got a little crazy about that too because I was loading McMurray's videos, my videos, and I don't mind doing that. It's just like, okay, and then putting the links to all the stuff. It was a lot to manage, so a little bit. And we did kind of, Rob, we didn't contact you too much later after we thought about doing it. So
okay,
yeah, and we didn't like talking about Market Garden now just makes me like, oh, thank goodness, yeah, that'd be fine. I can do that. Yeah, because as people know or not know, we played this a little earlier, right? I was not playing, except for Rob doing his games live, but I was done before the 12th. I was done before that. So, but I needed that because you never know what happens with the work and all that stuff.
Joe, how you doing, Suga?
I will say it was a blast to do this endeavor. It was fun. Oh, I did enjoy it.
Well, okay. So, what are we thumbs up to do a future endeavor down this?
Well, hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I'm thinking too is okay. So we took on one game with me, you, and McMurray. All right, that game was suitable to do that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe we take, if we can, we're all playing something different, or not all of us are playing the same thing.
Yeah, I kind of like that. It's a little bit of freedom.
And maybe we don't play if you took a Market Garden, you could play Arnhem. You could play 9 or 10 days in Arnhem.
Yes. Yeah.
And wouldn't even have to play all the other.
I do have a Bridge Too Far, which is the whole Arnhem battle. So it's not designed for solo play campaign, but I'm sure I could
Hill version.
Give me a couple weeks or months to work something out, maybe.
Yeah, Joe,
that might be what I would do
about that. Joe, about taking some stills. That's what we just incorporated that as a mandatory thing for our next endeavor with this. And there's always one smart ass American Civil War guy that pops in here. Damn, hey, nobody.
So Stuka, I did share some things, or I'm not sure you were on here. I did share some slides that I took pictures of it. The first time I ever did that was my playthrough of Normandy 44 when I did it day by day, and each day I would draw a new thing. So I took a picture of it and then drew the lines on there with it's not beautiful or anything, and it was really fun doing it. I got a lot of compliments on it. So any game that's like this campaign wise, I've done it before. And it kind of makes you feel good. Like, as a kid, I used to draw those kind of maps all the time without playing games. I'd be like, oh yeah, you invade here. And it's just kind of, because I looked at all the war books. Let's see, are there any other suggestions on us playing? Yeah. So Jeff, do we want to talk about, so do you think you might try to do Holland 44, Rob?
Having just mentioned the Bridge Too Far, I'm thinking maybe I'll do that.
Just do that instead.
Yeah.
I say that. What is that Bridge Too Far again? What is
it's a Battle of Arnhem.
It's Avalon Hills.
It's Avalon Hills historical module for ASL. So it's ASL scale.
Be cool they redid that or updated it.
I think it's 3 to 5 days of campaign through 3 phases per day kind of thing.
Okay.
But I'm thinking of doing that. Or I could just jump out of ASL and do Holland 44.
Yeah, because we don't want you to get stuck with that. Because you're dipping your toes in other places. Mm-hmm. And I do not want to see you get ASL morale bitten. And you got Holland 44. I know that I've got multiple Arnhem games around here. We got that little paratroop game that we all messed around with Todd that has
Yeah.
Minute. We did scenarios out of It Never Snows. I got a few of them floating around here, so I'm sure we can all grab into something. And we get started ahead of time and have all the stuff ready and have some of the. Yeah, you got that thing there. You can knock it out. Yeah, and we can. It doesn't even necessarily have to be the whole shebang. We can just play some scenarios out of it, and just time them up with the dates and everything. And I think that would just be freaking awesome.
Well, yeah, I mean, Rob, I was thinking that. I mean, you could play Holland 44 anytime before that and schedule them out and then do the ASL stuff. But so right now I have Devil's Cauldron, Where Eagles Dare. I don't believe 2.0 versions of those will be out by this September. So I don't have to worry about that. It'd be kind of like Utah. Oh, by the way, Utah, GTS Utah is, I mean, it sounds like they're going to stop pre-order buying on that like in a couple days. So if you really want that, and I know Jeff was considering it, but it's a lot of money. I get it, $250, but plus tax. And if you're in Canada, it'll be like $9,000 shipping. But
yeah, customs.
Wait, did you play that, Jeff? Was that one you tried?
I played a scenario in it, and it really, I wish I had. Okay, so I'm gonna beg anybody got the SPI Highway to the Reich, send it to me. Missed that thing so bad.
Is that better than that? I mean,
neither one of the systems were great, but the SPI one I think is better than that right there. So,
all right. So I have Devil's Cauldron. That I have It Never Snows. McMurray and I played that. I really don't want to play that whole campaign. I don't think he does either. But I believe McMurray bought an old Storm over Arnhem thing, which is an area movement Arnhem game, very famous from Avalon Hill. I think he's got that, and he and I'll probably try that. I honestly don't have that many. I'm just kind of looking up at my.
There's a number of them out there.
No, but I don't have very many of them. I kind of because I got rid of Normandy 40 or Holland.
Yeah, but you could do little hits in the because you're the only one of us that has the GTS ones that have.
Yeah, and that's probably what I would do. I mean, since Jeff and I played version 1.1. I would be more comfortable doing this, and I think Ty would probably be willing to jump on and play a couple games. So that might be kind of cool to get him roped into it a little bit. By the way, Jeff, look at the size of these activation counters they're humongous. And then look at this. He says
what is that?
It's a loser. I don't know why that's in there. But I guess but these are the formation activation counters for that. They're like double the size of the regular counters.
Oh my god!
Anywho, so that's probably what I'll do. I'll probably spend most of my time on that. I mean, hey, whoa, hold on, Jeff. Jeff.
Oh, here we go.
You got it too, buddy.
I do.
Come on, man. We're gonna make Rob play.
Oh, Decision and Elf. I forgot about that.
Nice.
This is Rob. Remember when I hit you up about teaching us armor and stuff?
Yes.
Yep. That's because of that game right there.
Nice.
Todd's messed with it. I haven't. There's Joe. Joe's giving us some of his video tips. He's got that darn sliding
tripod situation
track thing set up over top of his boards, and he's got multiple phones tied in with high def cameras on the phone.
Joe, we can't compete with you, bro.
Phenomenal.
Maybe we all need to go to Joe's house and play our games, and he can be the filmer, and we can play
that. Yeah, I think we got some good stuff going forward. I really think that our next endeavor is going to be pretty awesome. And like I say, I'm going to start working. This is funny because when I start doing these little progression maps, this is going to take me back to writing operational plans, op orders for operations in the military. It's going to bring back a full flood of memories to do that stuff. So
yeah, I can imagine.
Looking forward to doing this. So that'll be kind of fun. But yeah, you really kind of got to do that on a large scale game. Like Holland 44 would probably work. I got to admit, I will say this about Holland 44. It's kind of cool that they got that whole shebang into one map. So I think that was a really, really good deal there. Yeah, but Joe, you've got that little push button thing where you've got multiple phones, don't you? At least I remember watching a video you shot like 3 years ago, I think. So, all right. Well, you know what? Hey, this has been good, guys. I mean,
no, I really appreciate you guys doing this. I mean, seeing Rob coming up there and all your videos posting up. And I got to tell you, from a selfish point, it really helped my views and my subscriptions.
And yeah, so for everybody out there, there are multiple videos spread out between the night of the 5th when we started with the drops, and today when we closed out, because like I said, Day of Days ended on the 15th. There's multiple videos on Todd's channel. Todd's got his and he's got McMurray's. Rob's got all his on there, and I've got all mine on my channel. Plus, we've cross-linked everybody where you can go. I think I might got one or two I missed. I need to put on there, but
yeah, I think I did too.
Get on there, go check out some of these videos, watch some of this stuff through, and comment this stuff. Let us know. You know, hey, did you miss something? Hey, how about adding this feature? Hey, you could have done this better. It's not going to bother us. I love getting in-depth informational comments from people. I may not get on there and respond to every little sentence you put in there. I might just say nice, great info, whatever. But let me tell you something. I read that stuff thoroughly because I like to know, wow, this, hey, here's a possibility. So, but yeah, man, appreciate you guys doing this. Appreciate everybody participating in this thing here. And like I say, between the four of us, hopefully we can get Murray along with us too. I'm sure if we start ahead of time, it should be no problem.
Get him out of the woods.
Yeah, get him out. We got to get him out of the woods first. So, you can count on us that our next mutual gaming thing will be Market Garden, and we've got plenty of time. This is only June, so you can. Let's see, when did Market Garden start?
17th.
17th. So that will be. I got to start. We got to start chat. Sorry, didn't show that. That was earlier. That will be. So we'll do something probably. We'll have to check the dates because we prefer to do Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday because we don't want to bump heads with other streamers between Monday and Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
But since it's oriented, we'll discuss if it bumps head with somebody, it's not going to hurt too bad. There's only two people I think we need that I like to discuss that with. So, but we'll look forward to us doing Market Garden here. So, anybody any final comments before we wrap this up?
No.
Oh, yeah. Wait a minute. Oh, yeah. There you go. I'm sorry, Chuck. So, look, guys, if any of you guys out there have plays, videos, photos, videos might be a little tough. Or if you have a channel, maybe you haven't shot a video yet. Maybe you want to, but you're just not sure. Shoot the damn thing. All right. And put it out there. It doesn't cost you nothing to put that on YouTube. If you've got the urge to do it. And we'll come, believe you can bet we'll come see it. Let us know if you posted something. Maybe you got some snapshots of something you're playing with a description. You know what? My email is on my YouTube page. If you want to get it up somewhere and you just don't really feel comfortable doing it or don't have the ability to do it, you send us some stuff with some good info on it, and you're liable to see us post it up there for you with respects to you who played it. I'm not opposed to that. Always looking for good stuff. But like I say, if you got a YouTube channel, doesn't cost you nothing to shoot a video. Even if you don't talk, you want to ask Chuck. Chuck used to shoot a lot of videos at first and didn't do much talking. And he's still grinding away and shooting tons of videos. He comments. I love the way he comments on his mat board with his whiteboard markers. I love trying to read all the notes he puts on the board. He does a great job with it. So y'all should do it. I really do. All right. Anybody else? Any comments?
No,
I'm good.
I think I'll sleep now.
Thank God. Yeah, we'll go to bed for about a week.
That or I'll play Diablo 4 until the wee hours in the morning. We'll see. One or the other.
All right, gang. Everybody, thank you all for joining us tonight. Great info in the chat, guys, and hope to see y'all again next time we go live. And you'll be seeing Tom. I got to get back to GCACW.
Amen.
Before we forget how to play it. All right. Talk to y'all soon. See ya.
See y'all.
Bye, guys.
Bye.